Jacob. So
this dude showing up with a freaking 10
There's
ton.
so much, and even if we had more, I don't think it.
oh my god.
Vaughn getting just does a burn.
No, that is that
Oh,
Vaughn?
no, I like this.
You also have gigantic hands.
In that car right now. We didn't fly all the ways here to watch you walk around in a sling.
If you are planning on coming out to Orlando for Formula Drift and you don't have your tickets, use the code OZORL. That's the code that you need to use. Use it. Save $5. We'll see you there. I have to drive to this event. You know how great that is? And you get to save $5. Just use OZORL at checkout. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Outerzone, the official podcast of Formula Drift. My name is Jacob Gettins, and today we have Amy Bakchis, arguably, maybe not unarguably, one of the best spotters we have in the sport right now. So
thank you.
I'm just going to start off with a glowing compliment just to make you feel uncomfortable immediately. But how's it going? How you been? How's everything? I feel like we haven't chatted in a couple of weeks at least.
I know, it's been a minute. I am doing well. It feels like spring is finally here, so that is good. Like our family is getting over illnesses for the past while, but it seems like everyone around us is actually also dealing with that. So it feels like we're coming out of the fog. So
yeah, it's amazing how one person will get sick and it's just like, okay, who's next? How long is it going to take before it runs through the whole family? You almost kind of want to just get it over with and be like, all right, we're going to lock ourselves inside for a week. Everyone gets sick and then we're done and we'll just move on with our lives.
yeah, we were grateful to have everyone be okay during Long Beach, but it seemed like right before and then right after it was just like waves of whatever's going around.
I think it's good though, especially you having the kids on the road quite a lot. Like their immune system is probably amazing with all the different things they've been exposed to over the years.
You'd hope. My daughter went through a few years where she would tell people I'm allergic to Florida, and she did not come with us there. Her asthma would get so out of hand. There was actually one event years ago. She might have been 3, so maybe 7 years ago-ish. She needed to go to the ER on Saturday, so I ended up having to take her to the ER with asthma, and someone else had to step in for me during competition for Odie. So she is allergic to Florida, but at this point, we go back now. So
is it just the pollen that gets her here?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it is.
Yeah.
So the last time we went, she did all right. We'll be back this year, and the kids love the travel, and we kind of, get exposed to different pollens, bring the medications that we can, and then move forward.
If you're ever at an event and you need an antihistamine of any level, we're talking, basic daily to EpiPen, I got you covered. It's on me at all times. So just let me,
nice.
I don't have it on in front of me. I have like a little tackle box of medication that I bring now everywhere. It's such a lifesaver because just if you need an Advil, there's never one around when you need it. So yeah. It's, but allergy wise, I got you. I actually took an allergy med 10 minutes before this episode. So Florida's also kicked my butt a few times now.
That makes sense. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I have a ton of food allergies. So it just makes sense that, I moved to a place that I'm mostly allergic to, but getting through it.
Yeah.
But is there any other rounds that the kids are allergic to, or they're pretty good with all of them now?
They're pretty good with all of them. My son, his favorite state, flat out, is Utah. He's like, I just want to go to Utah. Yeah, he loves Utah ever since he started going there. So we visit all of the ones the kids want to. This year, they'll actually go to New Jersey for the first time.
Okay.
And my daughter's been, maybe when she was little, probably before she could remember it. After that, we didn't bring the kids to New Jersey. It's expensive for us from California. It's the most expensive flight, and it's hot, and felt like there wasn't enough time with the schedule of the weekend to spend a ton of time with them. So they just haven't been. So they'll come to New Jersey for the first time this year, and we'll be in St. Louis, which is also usually one that's hit or miss if we bring the kids or not, but they'll come with us this year.
How do you balance out the teaching moments with the kids at the track? Like, do you use anything specific to the racetrack as like education, or is it like, okay, the week, like this is your time off, you can just enjoy yourself, or are you trying to tie that in with like any homeschooling stuff?
Yeah, so I homeschool. I love it. It definitely is a good fit for our family. So when you say time off, it makes me laugh because with homeschool, there is no time off. If the kids they don't get sick days. If they're sick, I'm like, read a book, watch some educational videos, no matter what. We pretty much keep going. I don't know if that's good or bad for them. I like it. But that is, so what happens is when we travel, I definitely use a lot of teaching moments, not necessarily at the track.
Okay.
My kids are analytical, so they're going to look at the race cars. They're going to look at what's going on. They've seen so much drifting, more than a lot of adults, that they're probably analyzing and thinking about things in a way that they're learning. But I don't have anything specific to the track. But we usually, I am very intentional about teaching the area we're at. So maybe comparing like a Venn diagram of Georgia to California. So what is it that we're going to see here that we don't see in California? What is the weather like here? What is the environment like? So a lot of more, or even historical questions. We've done museums in different places that we're not going to get at home. So I'm intentional about those types of learning experiences. But that was a good question. I can't think of anything specific to the track but I also, it happens organically for us. They're around it all the time. So
yeah, and I mean you're somebody who's, I wouldn't say addicted to education, but like education seems to be more than a hobby and more than something you have to do. Right? For a lot of people, like they go to school, they want to get it over with, they want to move on with your life. You've actually recently gone back to do more, and congratulations, by the way, on earning what you have. I'll let you discuss that however you'd like to, but that's it's incredible to say the least.
Thanks. Yeah, I am in school for funsies, is what I say at this point, because I am a learner. I think that is probably why I like spotting, actually, because I get to be analytical. It's a constant moving target of learning more. Same with business ownership. It's constantly learning more. So yes, my bachelor's is in biology, which I like. I like science. Like I've mentioned, thinking analytically, asking questions. Then I've always intended to do some sort of graduate school, took a long break. And then a few years ago, just said, I think now is the time. I think it's theology at Biola. He said, okay. So I'm getting my master's, graduating now, actually, in spiritual formation. And this means that I dive into a lot of readings from Middle Ages times, from anything from early AD up till current. Basically, I read a lot of old literature and spiritual thought, but am also reading current things as well. I was reading something out loud last night because Odie was like, oh, that'll put him to sleep right away. But it's funsies for me.
It is kind of a juxtaposition, though, that you are so analytical, but then taking in something as generalistic and intuitive and interpretive as theology. Like, is that something you're doing to kind of balance that out? I know personally, I love numbers. I love spreadsheets. Like, nothing gets me more excited than a really nice spreadsheet. And I forced myself to listen to nothing but fiction audiobooks for an entire year. And it was a really nice change. And I felt like I could do more on the numbers side of things because I gave myself a break and allowed myself to go somewhere that I normally wouldn't. So I don't know if you're in a similar vein, or it was just you've always wanted to get into theology, or you can balance both a little better than I can.
That's a good question. I've always been drawn to both. Even in high school, I was stuck between, do I major in science or do I major in literature, which are two different things. My computer case is a brain, and it's a split right side, left side, and kind of shows all the musical components and artistic components of the right side of the brain, and then has all these numbers and analytical just in grays for the left side. I'm actually drawn to both, which means I'm also sometimes maybe indecisive or unsure which direction to go, because I want to think analytically, but I also want to drive to the philosophical point of what it is that we're doing. So I've always wanted to go to Biola for some reason. I ended up not, once I learned how expensive that school was when I was a teenager, and like, wait, what am I doing?
You got like a semester in, right? Like you got a semester in and got the bill, and it was like,
I didn't even go. So I had only applied to Biola and then said, got the bill of, okay, now it's time to go, and thought, I don't know how this works. I'm a child trying to figure out now what adult numbers. So then went to Cal State Fullerton, honestly, because it's close to Biola, because when I wanted to go to Biola, Odie went to Cal State Fullerton, 15 minutes away. So it's okay, I'll go there, do science there. And so I think by the time many years later, when I said, I think now is the time to go there, and I want it to be theology, it made sense because I had just been diving into Bible studies on my own at my local church and just wanted something more. And then within the community that I found, taking online classes through Biola, then I found a program that is in person and very, very intense. So I went for the most intense program I could find in that. For spiritual formation specifically, it's actually, they require us to be in person. So I've been commuting hour and a half. I do live near a train. So if you can hear that, it's going to come and go.
No, I'll tell Jay, the audio guy, to leave the ambiance in. I'm totally fine with it.
Okay.
Have you like learned the routes yet of the train? Like understanding like when they're going to come by, or is there any continuity you can gain from that?
There's not continuity. It seems to be sporadic. Odie did research after we moved in, learned that they do 4 honks at a crossing. He knows the order of these honks.
I knew he was a train kid. I knew it.
Not at all. It was more like, can we continue to live here? I don't know how long we could do this. I will say, if it's windy, it's less loud. So which means if we hear it very clearly in the middle of the night, we just say, well, it's a clear night. So that is about what we've learned in a few years. Anyway, I'm in school in an intensive program, which means I commute down the hill, I commute about an hour and a half away 1 day a week right now. Plus I'm homeschooling. So yes, I do love education. And this particular program requires that not only am I in person, but also had to have, it's kind of a mix of psychology and theology, honestly, the program that I'm in. So they want you to see a PhD level psychologist for a certain amount of time. They want me to be under a spiritual director for the duration of my being there. I have to go on 48-hour silence and solitude retreats once a semester. So it's very intense. It requires a lot of time. And again, I do it for fun. So my family is used to it at this point.
I was not planning on going down this road, but here we are. I don't want to delve too much into faith, but does something like this, not shake it, but like, does it change anything? Because you're learning about the history of faith, you're learning about how things have developed, how things have changed, or more or less moved with the times. Does it change anything in you, or does it kind of cement it even more?
Cements it even more, because evaluating the questions, it's interesting that you would say what changes over time, because I would say that I'm looking at what is constant over time.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So
it's just, there's certain, I guess, like organizations that I've followed over the years and like studied over the years. And, it's interesting what stays the same and what has to adapt and what has to mold in order for these things to survive for as long as they do. So that's why that I guess, like, in the studying of that I guess you can look at it in two different ways. As like, here are the core principles that have always been there since day one, or as long as we can, find. And then here are the things that have been adapted, changed, and molded, or corrupted, or whatever over that period of time. But I guess staying attached to the core principles is what you're looking at, going like, okay, this has always been here. The words may have changed, and the English is definitely different. I'm sure you're learning linguistic skills and the changes in how we speak as well, because something from that far back is not even close to how we speak today. But yeah, that's kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah, I really do like it. There is definitely constants, and it almost kind of helps break away all of those extra bits that aren't the core. So then you go, oh, this might be what actually matters most, and all these extra little bits that people can argue about or get extra divisive about. How significant are those components? What does that really look like? I just spent earlier this week a 48-hour silence and solitude retreat at a monastery. So I'm at a Benedictine monastery about 35 minutes from my house, and these are monks who follow the Benedictine order, which happens to be a rule that was written hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So they're still following a way of life that was established so long ago in history, yet they're maintaining this, solid core of truths. I mean, they have like a dog and they have cars and whatnot. They use the internet to for bookings and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, I got you.
But at the same time, it's very, you walk into one of their services and there's kind of an older style of singing or chant is very different that I'm not usually exposed to unless I break out of my norm and go intentionally and stay there. So yeah, that's
cool.
Yeah. I come home and tell my kids I was just at a monastery, and they know that's where mom was. And she was on a do not disturb time for 2 days.
I do find it hilarious that, you take 48 hours of no talking and then come on a podcast. So it works out perfect. So you're nice and rested. You got good vocal rest. It worked out amazing.
Yeah. Perfect timing.
It was a great conversation ahead of time. You're like, actually, I am not going to be speaking for 2 days, but then we can have a conversation.
Sure.
Yeah, I really do. I think it's incredible, the amount of education that you've taken on your own accord. I had a lot of fun doing research for this, found a lot of really unique things, which, I think you're aware, like I had a conversation with Odie and I came to the conclusion it's kind of sad that we only know you as like this amazing spotter, because the more I dug in, I was like, this is insane. Total rabbit hole I went down was, you had received a government grant, for nitrogen fixed by microbial crust that is subsequently used by desert shrubs.
Yes.
I went down that whole rabbit hole and tried to I found myself like 4 tabs deep in the corner. I'm like, hang on, no, I have to get back to drifting. Like, this is so fascinating though. I guess while we're on the topic of education, why down that rabbit hole in particular, and why, I guess, did you take that kind of more microbiology path, of all things?
Yes, that's a good question. Like I said, a long time ago, I was stuck between, do I go into literature? Do I go into science? Went into science, took a microbiology class, really enjoyed it. Yes, I'm that nerdy. I'm like, yes, I did like microbiology. And when I went to go get my bachelor's and do upper division things, I was initially thinking, if I'm going to do science, maybe I'll go into a medical field, was initially what I was thinking. And I thought, but I don't think I want to be a doctor because I want to have a family at some point. And I was young, and that many years of school just sounded like I would be so old. And before I'm done with school. And looking back now, actually, in my own brain, I had done this math of like, oh, that would be the year 20, whatever, and I'll be so old. I didn't start having kids until way after that anyway, it turns out. So there's life. But thought maybe I'll go into a nursing program. Went to the first, some required class that was biodiversity, and learned more about ecology and biodiversity, and heard a professor come in and speak about an opportunity to become part of an undergraduate research program that was solely on California ecosystems. And you kind of partner with a professor, get to do an undergraduate research project that in theory is almost master's level thesis, maybe just under that, but you're working directly with a professor. In some cases, people can skip a master's and go straight into a PhD after that program for ecology. So I thought, well, that sounds good. And it'll make me look well-rounded if I ever want to do something medical, because I'll have done something with ecology. So I got accepted into that program, which was amazing at Cal State Fullerton. Got to know the professors, still talk to professors that are there, which is actually a long time ago at this point. So
yeah, that was Professor, was it Sandquist?
Oh, I worked with Dr. Sandquist, yes. Yeah. And then the leader of the program is someone named Dr. Hosey, who's just amazing. We actually ran into him on vacation this past January. And so we got to go out with him on vacation, Odie and I, and him and his wife. So it was very fun. But worked with Dr. Sandquist. He worked in deserts, and I love desert ecology because I think it's so neat.
It's a perfect name for that too, right?
Yeah. So he works with desert plants. I just really liked the dynamic of learning about plants, everything about them. I do not keep them alive. I know how to keep them alive, but I do not do it. Yeah. Theory. So, and draw you a diagram, do some things, tell you about photosynthesis, but will I give it the sunlight? I don't. So that's what I've done. So yeah, I ended up saying, how do I mesh microbiology with plant desert world, and learned about, turns out there's crust that grows in the desert that is really neat, and it actually fixes nitrogen. Do the plants near this soil actually use the nitrogen? Got to use isotopes and things like this to try to dive into that. Yeah. So I just go where I apparently feel, because I didn't do anything medical after that. Got into the ecology, thought it was great. After I graduated, decided to do environmental consulting. But then Odie's career kind of took off. So so then that shifted for me as well. I felt that was where to go next.
I'm sure that was tough, but I don't want to speak on your behalf, but I'm sure that was tough to do that. I had to do something similar when we had kids. I was able to get a better job. I originally went to school for culinary. And I thought that was my path. I thought that's what I was going to do, was run restaurants for a living. But we had kids very young, and I need to get a job that wasn't working nights and weekends and actually paid decent and had benefits. So it was one of those, I gave up cooking to just keep the family going. It was, so I get it in some way. But I'm sure that was a difficult thing to do for you, to kind of give that up to, get feel and everything Odie's doing. And I mean, really everything both of you are doing. I shouldn't just say Odie, because it's very much a team effort.
Well, thank you. Yeah, definitely now. Odie, so I did not marry a race car driver. I have to tell people that, because nobody really knows that. I did not marry a race car driver. I married Odie, and he found drifting well after we were married. So, we were talking a little bit about this last night, knowing, we're going to talk about, you and I would talk today, and made me kind of remember going into kind of dropping the environmental consulting, going into field suspension. with Odie right at the start of him getting his professional license. And even though it was extremely hard, I was giving up the piece of me that was independent. And I was giving up the piece of me that was just mine. And that is definitely hard, probably especially from my own internal female perspective of I'm now going to go be dependent on my husband. Like, what does that look like? How does that feel? So it was quite difficult. But you know what? It ended up working out. It was it was quite unhealthy the way we were for the first few years, in that I was doing environmental consulting. It was demanding a lot of my time, a lot of my energy and effort. Odie was pursuing more of field suspension, which means we were going this way, just autonomously. I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing, working late nights, and was not a healthy direction. So in the midst of kind of some struggles, then it was, what is the best move? And we had just had Audrina, who's now 11. So this is a long time ago at this point. Once we had our first child, and it was like, well, now we're adding a baby into the mix, and now I'm taking care of her, and we have Feel. And Odie was just a couple years into Formula Drift. I was taking a ton of time off to travel with Formula Drift so that I could be Odie's spotter. So it was tough, but then it was also the most healthy decision we could have made. So it was giving up like two very different paths to finally say, let's work together and really have some unity in our marriage and our family life and the direction that we're heading, and see where Feel Suspension goes, knowing this was kind of the first couple years that we were offering Odie's own coilovers, not just working on other people's suspension, not working on dirt bike suspension. Now it was kind of diving into a whole new venture. So the choice to do it together was difficult, but it was so healthy for us.
Yeah, it is amazing how, it's very easy to look at any business or any level of success and just go, oh, this is how it is. And it's hard to always go back and look at, how it all developed and the struggles that go through and, where it all kicked off. I mean, it was you guys skipping high school to go to a motocross track, and now Feel is one of the biggest names in suspension. Like, it's crazy how quick all that happens, even though it feels like it takes forever.
Yeah. And yet at the same time, looking back and going, it doesn't seem that long. Sometimes it seems so long ago.
Right.
And other times it seems so long ago. So, and I still get to have conversations about science that are fun. I get to homeschool. And when we talk about plants, I get to nerd out. And I'm sure that my child and her friends are like, oh my gosh, but they deal with it. And I get to do that. I'm sure for you, if cooking or getting to dive into something culinary probably like just pricks something different within you.
It does. All three of our kids are very self-sufficient in cooking. My wife also worked in kitchens. That's where her and I met. Kind of. We met online, but ended up falling in love when we worked together in a restaurant. Although we found it very quick, we're not good at working side by side. Working near each other, totally fine. Next to each other, not so much. But yeah, all three of our kids are totally fine to cook their own meals. My oldest, Xander, he's 11. He's like delved into steaks now, where he's just like really wants to cook a really good steak, which is
Very
crazy
cool.
to think that there's an 11-year-old going like, okay, why, he's coming to me going like, I can't get this crust right. I don't understand how you do it. What am I doing wrong here? And it's like, I'm like, okay, move over. Let me show you. Like those moments are a ton of fun. And I end up cooking an entire steak and going like, did you see any of that? And he's sitting on his phone and like, yeah, okay. Thanks, Dad. You just did it for me. So yeah.
You'll get there. Baby
Yeah,
steps.
I know. No, it is good though. And when you have a passion for something, I think the kids can feel it too. And sometimes there's resistance because like as parents, it's like, I don't know if what they're doing isn't what they want to do kind of thing. But ultimately, I do think teaching with a passion is more well received by the student in whatever regard.
I agree with you. I think the passion has to be there, obviously without forcing it on them, right? Like you will cook this steak or you will love suspension. So.
Yeah, you will love suspension. You can't force it. There are people that do, and there are people who are incredible at what they do because they were forced to do something. I look at like a Max Verstappen. I think that's like the ultimate form of that. A father who was not great to him as a child, but kind of built a champion. But I do think there's still a love for the sport in there. Just maybe the path that got them there was not the healthiest one. So, but there's also infinite amount of stories of people who tried to force somebody to do something they didn't want to do. And now it's spite that they have, and they'll never go and do it, even though they might have been great at it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Tough go. Raising kids is not easy. There's no book. Nobody tells you how to do it. Yeah. Everyone tells you how to do it, but none of it feels right. I don't know. It's definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. That's for sure.
It's definitely hard, but definitely so rewarding, but also so comforting when you come across someone else that's like, your kid has that same quirk. Oh, wonderful. Like that. Now I feel like validated in the fact that, I don't know, my kids do something different, or like even homeschooling, like we have a huge homeschooling community out here. So like for Valentine's, I had to prepare like 35 Valentines for Audrina's craft class that she goes to. I'm like, this is homeschool kids. And there's like a full classroom of them on Mondays, or I don't know. They have a lot of different things that they do. So then I go, it's nice to meet other homeschool moms knowing, okay, this is a different path that we're going down, or even a different drifting mom going, this is also a very different path because my kid gets to have exposure to these experiences, to traveling, and other kids have not had as much traveling as maybe my kids have. So finding other parents to relate to our go lifestyle ends up being very comforting.
Yeah. It's anytime you can relate to somebody, especially in a weird or very niche situation, is always great. It's like when you run into somebody who's into drifting in a place that has nothing to do with drifting, and you just like kind of like, oh, you know this too, huh? Like that. It's such a awesome feeling, and you're like, okay, like it's our own little secret club in the grocery store because we're both sliding our carts around or something, on a very basic level.
Yes. You're right.
So. Getting into drifting, and I'm sure some people are waiting for it, but I still have a ton of notes. I think you and I could talk even more, but how difficult was it to get into spotting in the beginning? Because we've come so far in the sport. Since Odie's been a part of it, since you've been a part of it, the sport really has developed to an incredible level. But in the beginning, what were those days like spotting? What was the information like? Has it changed much? Or is it kind of still the same conversations you've been having?
Definitely not the same conversations anymore. So it's hard to remember. You're asking me to think a long time ago. This is like our 15th year in Formula Drift. I calculated it out in Long Beach. I got bored at some point. I was like, how many events have I been to? And I literally tallied it up when I was in Long Beach, and it's a lot. And so you're asking me to think way back when. How difficult was it to get into spotting? It was difficult because I didn't want to do anything with drifting. I did not like it.
Really?
You should ask me if I'm a drift fan. That's a different question.
I mean... Yeah, I guess. Here's why. Because we were doing rally, and it was so fun, and I was his co-driver, and we had this like front wheel drive Eagle Talon, and it was just so much fun to try rally and to explore life in a rally car together. And co-driving was fun. It's very analytical, right? I get to read directions that are weird. It's like its own language. It was a fun community. I enjoyed it a lot. So when Odie found drifting, I was very resistant to it. But I said, well, obviously I will be your spotter because
I'm your co-driver in rally and we already know how to talk to each other on the radio. So, and I'm analytical and can do it. I'm like, who else is going to do it? So I was kind of prideful about it and just like, well, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it fine. I'll be fine at it. But what was the information like? Certainly not as data driven as it is now. A lot of it, I'm trying to think to honestly, like my brain is going to Vegas drift in like 2010. Like, what was that like for us? Like just to get into Formula Drift, was a lot of looking at other cars and a lot of looking at line for Odie. And in that regard, it has not changed. Okay. We look at line first. I look at line first. I want to look at what the judges are looking for on the track. Initially, just are you putting the car where it is supposed to be? And how is he going to know that? He only knows if he hits it, right? You only know if you touch it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, or you're really far away from it. Other than that, you're kind of figuring it out and relying on someone to tell you, well, how far away was I from that wall? Or how I think I tapped it. Was it too much? Was it too little? So that part has not changed. Although now I don't have to maybe say as much. Odie knows his car so well. He knows the feeling in his car so well. But I am there to say like, well, you need to enter in a few feet earlier. And I'm pretty exact about it, or try to be. Well, and so that's something that we work out like, hey, know how that feels because I want you to know that was like 3 feet off. Right. Okay. So to match what I'm saying to in the car, because it might not actually be 3 feet, but if he and I are talking the same language of what 3 feet is to us, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if I'm off a little bit, but he'll know where that is. Or if I say exactly where you entered in, in Long Beach in zone 1 in turn 9, like where you entered, you dug out of that just a hair too late or a little too early. Like knowing those areas on the course has always been something that I've looked at. We get into much more as well, but that is our starting point. And that hasn't changed.
I guess in your eyes, I've gone back and looked at so much old drifting, and like where we're at now is so crazy in comparison. Even 5 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, it's almost like another sport. Like where Pro-Am is at is better than drifting 10 years ago, in my opinion.
Do you think that's because of the cars or because of the driving?
Both. I think first of all, the development of the chassis, the development of the access to information has never been better. You can go online, order a pretty much pro level drift car based on parts delivered to your door. You can jump onto a message board, have all your alignment specs ready to go. All of that information's been figured out for you. So now your starting point is already, if we say 2025 is the marker, your starting point is already 2020, right? You're already at that level of information. The last 5 years, that's your development as a driver. I was at a track today and I saw it where a guy had only driven 3 times. He was in pretty much a Pro 2 level car, fully built, tubed, everything was ready to go. Within 5 laps, he looked better than some of the guys have been driving for 5 years because all the info's there, the car's set up great, and he just went and drove. So I think that's a lot of it, is just that we have so much information both in driving as well as the technical setup of the car. And we have recipes, really, is what it comes down to. It was E36 with a 2J in it, and dude looked great.
And we
awesome.
have video games that we're not.
Those weren't, not even getting into sim.
Right. Like with sim, we have practice before you can practice.
Yeah.
So
I really think it has so much to do with that. And I mean, parts aren't breaking. I mean, things are still breaking. Don't get me wrong. But what was it? Probably 7-8 years ago, every other run, it was a transmission or a differential or drive shaft or like CV, something was going. I don't know the last time I saw a dog box blow in a run. Unfortunately, I've seen a couple of engines go in the last couple of years. But we're not breaking things the way we used to. Like we used to break all the time.
I think that there are things breaking that perhaps we also don't see as much because we have teams and preparation that are so much, that is well beyond what it used to be. So teams, and when they do have some sort of failure, are still able to make it out, are still able to show up for the, what goes on in practice, not everyone sees, but you'll notice like a car's gone for a while. Like, yes, these things are happening, but they're happening in a way that now they can be fixed better. I feel like the whole team is better prepared to say we need to be able to not break something and call it done, right? Unless it's something like super detrimental. But I'll see cars now that maybe in the past I would think they're not coming back out on track. And then there they are by the end of practice again. And I think that is much more regular and frequent now than it used to be.
Yeah, I guess my clarification should have been like in battle, we're not seeing as much of that. But I agree. Things are still breaking a lot, especially in practice. But I don't see it as much in knock on. I better knock on some wood or something because the next round's going to be brutal.
Please no.
I know.
Please no.
But I think that's where we're at. I also think spotting has gotten a lot better, although it still seems to be a bit of a black box. I know you've done a lot to help teach spotters and educate a lot more, but it's something that I don't think we teach enough of. And I think it feels like it's still, there's like secrets and hidden, like there's still people who are covering their notes in the spotters tower, which is fine. But I don't know how much of that's going down into pro spec or going into pro am, or like, if you want to practice driving, you can jump on a sim. Where do you practice spotting?
Yeah, where do you practice spotting? You watch old videos, right?
Yeah, you watch tape.
You watch the videos and you look at it and you watch a ton of drifting. And no one can really read my notes, but I'll still cover them anyway. I have my own code.
That wasn't a dig at you,
shorthand.
For the record.
No, I'm fine with it. I don't know if it's... I think part of it, and this is just my opinion, I think part of it is a philosophy that I think there's a couple different philosophies towards spotting. And I think that people coming up, and this is a broad generalization, and I do not think it's everyone, but I think there's people who come in thinking almost an us versus them mentality with like the judges. Whereas I am of the school that the judges are there and I better be on board with what they want to see, because at the end of the day, my opinion is not what gets OD to win. My opinion is negligible. Like, who cares? Right? Like at the end of the day, it's the judge's opinion. This is a subjective sport. So I am one of the apparently few spotters who is taking advantage of talking to the judges when they're in the tower, of saying, how is my driver looking? Of wanting to be, I want to see things with their eyes. And I don't know if that's the philosophy of everyone in the tower. I hope so. But I want to see the runs with the judge's eyes. I'm assuming you kind of do too, right? You're a technical commenter. So you're there to say the things that are going on, yet also being aware of, well, is that what the judges want to see? And if it is it executed in the best way possible of what the judges want to see? So I want to work that out in the tower during practice with the judges. I want to pay attention in the drivers' meetings. And even though I may not agree 100% of the time, and sometimes I make that well known, there's other times. Sometimes. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I want to be on the same page. I think that the only real problem is when there's a discrepancy where it's like, if the majority of us spotters don't understand the call, then there's maybe a question there, right? Like, okay, what is this about? Like, what is going on here? What happened that either we all missed or, misunderstood or something? But I think, for the most part, to see the judges as a wonderful resource of information and what my eyes should be looking at. So I think it comes down a little bit to philosophy as well, not just like, how do I spot? What do I look for? But also letting go maybe of the pride of my opinion would know what is best on the track.
Yeah, you do have to separate your ego and from it a lot and really go, okay, like, I think this is how this should happen. And you can express it and you can let them know. And there's lots of back and forth about that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, our thoughts, our opinions don't necessarily matter. It is the judges. It is their call. It is a judge sport. So, can we dig into the different philosophies around spotting? Because I agree. I look at it, there's like 3 main categories for me when I look at spotters. I see the numbers people who are, I think, Chen's a great example of this Nate Chen, where like, he's got a spreadsheet. He has a full spreadsheet with all this stuff in it. I don't have to get into like all of it, of exactly what goes into it. I do know a good chunk of it, but there's a spreadsheet for like every run, every person driving, and they can go through and pull that data. I then see spotters where it is maybe more longhand notes. I think you fall more into this category. Now, I can't read your notes.
They make no sense.
Right. But there's more of a sentence or a description that's going on within those notes. Maybe going back to the rally days of shorthand meaning something longer. And then the third category I see are like feel people, where they look at a run and have, for better or worse, because all of these systems have people really good at that system and people who aren't. But there's people who look at a run and get a feeling about it and then communicate that feeling back to their driver. And there's not necessarily notes. Maybe they take a video, but they go more off of gut and like, okay, I think this was good. But like, if you're more aggressive or something, they use kind of vague terminology to communicate with their driver. So that's what I see. I don't know if I've missed some or you categorize it differently.
I think that the method of acquiring information is probably going to be more of the spotter's personal learning style. So if someone, right, not everyone wants to handwrite notes. I am someone who needs to write physically with a pen, rather than type it even, in order to process what I'm seeing and hearing. So that's for me. If that, and I see so many drift runs that you asked me what happened 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Like, I know you see a lot too, but like I have to file them in my brain.
You've been doing this longer than I have, so yeah, I'm not
file them in my brain, and
category.
Then they have to dump at some point. And some of them I really hold on to, but I write them down so that I can hopefully see patterns to double check. Like, is what I saw actually what I saw? Did I see that before? It's written down, but I have to do that for me to learn. If I take a video, which sometimes I do, it's hard for me to also see what's happening. Like, I just can't. Like, that's just a limitation of my mind. I think some spotters, seen some really good ones who are able to not write a single thing down except maybe the bracket when they want to, right? And able to communicate so clearly and so well because they must have a excellent memory and they can process what they're seeing on the ground in a way that just settles in their mind and they're able to communicate. I think any of those methods could work if it's accurate.
Right.
So, right, like that's going to be what is it for me as a spotter to be the most accurate? And what's going to be the most useful for my driver? Does he want to see video? Does he want to know times? Does he want to know something else? Does like what is it he's looking for, and how am I going to remember that the quickest? How am I going to learn that in a way where I have the quickest recall when he tells me I'm lined up with so-and-so in practice? So that is, I think that's my assumption as to why people have different strategies.
It's more of an intake, what they do with that intake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I have if I visually see something, I'm pretty good with the recall. I'm not like, I've tried notebooks. Like I've got one sitting right here that's got just vague things in it, but like, I don't go back to it. I don't use it. So for me, it just never adapted. For me, it's more conversation. If I see something and then I can talk about it, it's in there. It's stuck in there pretty good. So I almost need to see a run, look at somebody and tell somebody about that run, and then it's there. And then I'm like, okay. And then for some crazy reason, I'm able to recall it, years later sometimes.
But the verbal processing for you is probably,
I think so.
It settles it in your mind, whether it's for the benefit of the person you're telling or not is different, right? It's for you. It's for you to know. Yeah. So I think any of those methods can be effective if it's what works best. Like my son, his memory is insane. Like he's 6 and he's nuts. Like he looks at a map and then he remembers where countries are and he just gets it. And he can't read yet. I mean, he's 6. He's reading, at a good 6-year-old level. Yeah. So it's not like he can handwrite notes, but if I ask him about anything Star Wars or Pokemon, he's going to know. And it's things that he maybe has only been exposed to for a couple weeks or a couple months, but then he like sees it or hears it or just asks a question and it's locked in forever for him. I don't know how he does it. He'll be a good spotter.
He'll be a good spotter. You're like, maybe if we let him.
If we let him, it's safer for him than driving, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I think there's very, very few spotters accidents. Doesn't happen often up there. It's the odd trip and fall, a couple of paper cuts. That's about it. Yeah. What's your communication style like with Odie? Like how you can be very matter of fact. I will say this: you can be very intense as well, not in a bad or off-putting way. It's just, I think when you're ready to make a statement, you are so sure of what it is that you're saying that it comes out with like this conviction seems too strong, but it's, I guess, what I'm going to have to go with.
Thank you. I'll take some of that as a compliment.
No, it's all compliment. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I will say the things I'm confident of confidently. When I talk to Odie, I qualify anything that needs to be qualified. I do not want to overstep and assume that what I think I'm seeing on track is accurate if I am not 100%, because I wouldn't want to mislead him. So if I say this is what I've seen and I've seen it once or twice out of this other driver, but I can't say that I'm seeing that now, or I can't say, because we only see a handful of runs from somebody and I'm looking for consistencies, or inconsistencies, sometimes I have to qualify. Like, you know what? This is how they've been all day, but that last run was weird. Or, or when I tell Odie what he's looking like, or tell him, you know what, this is what I think, but it was anomalous. So I need to sometimes qualify. But yes, I try to say the things that I do know for sure. And I try to take notes on the things that I do know for sure. So when I give feedback to Odie, I think he knows me well enough to know what I'm sure of and to know what I am giving as a maybe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can you don't have to tell me who, but are you able to like describe another driver as if you were providing that note to Odie? I mean, if there's a run in particular or a driver that comes to mind, I'm just, I guess, like very curious, like how you would describe another driver that he'd be going up against.
I am not going to describe the full driver. I would describe anything that is anomalous or deviates from the way Odie does it.
Okay. So
or
Odie
something
has
that's consistent. Like if he's lining up in practice with someone and I'm like, you know what, that guy is probably about the same speeds as you and he's been looking good all day. You can trust this. Then that's going to give him the confidence to know I can go follow this guy confidently. His car's been put together all day. He's been looking good all day. I can go do this. If there's another driver that he might go against and, I might say, he's shut it down the past 3 runs or hasn't gotten that last, something is going on with his car, I think, just to give him the heads up. So those are mechanical things, right? Or consistency things as well. Or I might say like, hey, he transitions or e-brakes or does this in this location on track. You might feel that, or you might need to look out for that or be aware of that. So to really give him the spaces that he might have to think more than at other times, if that makes sense.
Does that go in with things like initiation as well? Like, hey, they're, this driver's handbrake dragging every time, or expect them to go full track left to full track right and fade in?
Yeah, he always wants to know initiation.
Okay.
Always. That's why I always want a camera up as early as possible. I know. Because
you're gonna have to call it Amy's rule. That there needs to be Amy's camera. Yeah.
There has to be. We have to see initiation. It sets up the rest of the course, and it also sets up my driver to be prepared to follow anyone else. Because otherwise, I'm like, I don't know. Good luck. Have fun.
Figure it out.
By the time he gets to turn 9, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's shallow or not.
Yeah, it's so hard to, especially from that perspective in Long Beach, where like they just kind of fire out from the wall. You have no idea what their depth is like. The depth perception is really tough in that kind of shoot because they're coming at you. So it can be very difficult to tell even speed. Just not a lot of reference.
No, you have to look at the right markers. But I will always, if I can, tell him how that driver initiates, if he transitions in an different way than Odie does, and how where he is on track. Because if someone is going a lot wider, like maybe just painting a wider arc, or if someone is painting a narrower arc or shallowing up in some spots, then he needs to be prepared for that. Because if he runs his own run, it's not going to look like tandem. So, but I have to say, I have it kind of easy because Odie is a good driver, right? So, and good in the way that he can take what I say and do it. So there's a lot of, if I say you need to adjust in this way or adjust this way for the driver, he can just do that in his mind. We don't have to work through it and go through a lot of processing very often. Could you ever see yourself as a judge? I don't think I'm as technically minded as someone needs to be a judge. I'm like mechanically, I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
No, but I don't think you need to. I really don't. I don't think you need to know mechanically on that side of things. It's fill the zones, understand the rules. I think a lot of it's the rules.
I think that I am so intrigued with administration of things. I love it. Like, I don't think I'm qualified in the event that I ever was. I think it'd be fun to like try at some sort of neat level. Like, I don't know, FD or not, but I'll try that out. But it seems, I just like administrative things though. I like rule books. I like spreadsheets. I also like knowing, I like analyzing things. Actually, like last year when I volunteered to do the driver steward thing for ProSpec, I would come home and tell Odie I love being his spotter. But I'd be like, that was the most fun. I had like my high of that weekend was getting to do a role like that, was getting to step in and assist other spotters, administratively have an idea of what's going on, and assist others with understanding the administration of the behind the scenes.
Do you think that helped you understand, I guess, like the flow of information as well a little bit better with FD, like in how the communication goes? Or you had a good understanding of that?
I have a good understanding of that, but I'm someone who pays attention and I've been in it for 15 years. So I'm confident, you know that I am, in talking to anyone in the tower who will talk to me. So I am confident I was confident approaching the competition, right? Like, like when it was Pat, I would go up and talk to him when I needed to. Chris, I'm very comfortable, enjoy talking to him. If it's a judge and I have a question and the timing is right, I want to ask them. I don't want to impose. I don't want to impose, regardless of what it looks like.
Yeah. I think you do it with a lot of decorum, which is, there are some people that don't. I don't know if you were there. I actually got myself into a bit of shit because I got very frustrated with people stopping the judges or trying to get clarification at inappropriate times. And I got upset, and I actually had to, I wouldn't say I got my like hand slapped, but I got a bit of a reminder of like, that's not your, like, they'll deal with it. You don't need to do that for them. But it was very frustrating because I'm like, listen, this was covered. This was communicated to you. What you are asking is a little absurd, because if you listened, you would understand this already. And we're done now. And these judges need to go have lunch. These human beings need to go have lunch. And you're stopping them from doing that and asking them to answer something that you should have already understood. And that's when I got like pretty frustrated. And I said something. But I think I do think there are people up in the spotter stand that need to be more assertive. And I think there are certain people in the stand that need to be more well-timed in their assertiveness, I think is a good way to put it.
Yeah, I think that you're probably right. And I think part of the solution to that is having someone like a driver steward available in order to field those questions and move them to the appropriate time, or to take that information from the spot. Because as spotters, we're also limited on our timing. Like we have to go tell our driver before he goes back out on track, or we have to get these things resolved, right? So it's tough because it is such a constrained schedule. There are appropriate times. Actually, so last year at Long Beach, just watching the tower was why I said, you know what, maybe for ProSpec, I can help be the driver steward, because I understand that the person who is directing things up there, right? Like Chris is up there directing things. He's sending cars. He's the one physically saying, okay, send. So it's kind of hard to ask him a question to get to the judges because he's busy. So we need to respect his time. Yet at the same time, he's the one we go to say, hey, how many laps do I have? Hey, hey, do we get 10 more minutes of practice? Hey, what happened on track? Hey, my driver this. Hey. So it's just seemed so much. It seemed like so much, for one person to take on that role. So I see, hopefully it was useful to have a second person there when I was up there. Because I know when we had a driver steward in the past, it was helpful, right? To go up and talk to somebody without bothering the flow of show. So we do need to be cognizant of the flow of show, keep that going, while at the same time having space and time to say, these are my questions. When can they get answered and how can they get answered?
Yeah. Because some of them are timely, and you do need, are we bringing this car back to repair it, or are we done? Like I just need to understand, or who's at fault. I need to know this as soon as I can to figure out what tools we're getting ready, or if we even have a timeout left. Like there's a lot that's in the balance. And I guess the hardest part is there's so much attachment as a spotter to your team that you're going to go on a bit of an offense, right? Kind of no matter what, you're going to be the advocate for your team because that's your job up there. So to get passionate about it is fine.
You also have to answer to a driver who is probably, he might not respond nicely if you don't come back with some sort of solution. We got to answer to someone.
That's,
Sometimes.
yeah. And it's very difficult as the spotter to just be like, hey, I'm just the one giving you the information, right? But like you are their only lifeline to the information. And then you are now the ultimate middle person in between them and then what could be another middle person, you know, because it could be Kevin Wells to Chris Yule to you to your driver and all of that communication. Everybody wants it now, like immediately.
Yes.
So it does get tense for sure.
But it's exciting. The adrenaline's fun. It's a different type of adrenaline in the booth.
Very different.
It's a different intensity than anywhere else on track. You know, like it's just got its own vibe up there of what's going on. And I think it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Just kidding. This is an ad read. I hope we got this. Knowing our editor, Kyle, he made that super, super seamless. But I am interrupting this message and I'm super sorry. Maybe you're in the middle of your workday. Maybe you're driving. Maybe you're just mindlessly listening and now you're paying attention. So now that I have your attention, guess what? Save 20%. That's right. Save 20%. Use podcast 25 at checkout. PODCAST 25. The number is 25 at checkout. You're going to save yourself 20%.
I love it.
I do love it up there. It's such a unique experience. It would be so neat to allow fans, like, I don't know, if we could put spotters behind glass and allow fans to just like stand there, maybe, you know, put popcorn through the window to feed you or something. I think it could be a really cool experience. There's also a lot of conversations that happen up there that I don't want fans to be privy to. You guys get a little crazy up there sometimes, but it's always in good fun.
Yeah. It is wild. I like it.
Is it like a bit of escapism for you up there where it's just you are a spotter? The parenting stuff kind of goes aside a little bit. The being someone's partner goes aside a little bit and you're just focused on the driver who just happens to be your partner.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I like silence and solitude, as I have mentioned. So sometimes I will go up early to read, just be by myself, just hang out, not be near anything else. And I love that too. And no one's going to come bug me, right? If they really need me, they'll call or text or something. So I really enjoy that component of it. I really enjoy getting to intensely focus on something. I want to focus on the runs. I want to do my job diligently. I enjoy that immensely. But at the same time, those other responsibilities don't fully go away. You know, being a mom doesn't fully go away. I'm very aware that my kids are in the stands or my kids are at home or my kids are at the science fair or something else is going on. I am very aware that field suspension might call me. And I might have to like slip my phone under my headset and answer a question. Those things don't stop. They're never going to stop. So it's not fully escapism, but it is a place where I am able to intensely focus most of the time and perform in a way that I don't usually get to, you know, in an adrenaline filled environment that is unique and that is completely supporting Odie. He doesn't stop being my husband when I'm his spotter. I don't stop being his wife over the radio. At the end of the day, I'm looking out for his best interest. You know, like there's not, a piece of that changes by any stretch of the imagination. However, I probably am less anxious. I mean, I have like a different anxiety, more of like the competition anxiety maybe, but being nervous for him never really came up, when I'm focused on spotting because I have a job to do. I can't just sit there and be worried. I get more worried now after last year. I just have, you know, like some things, but that is what it is. So yes and no to the escapism.
Can we delve into that? I don't know if you're comfortable talking about Atlanta last year. Not his first big hit, but probably the scariest moment. You know, you could go back to Vegas, his big hit into the K-rail. well, I can't remember what year that was, but
2012.
Okay, you know it, exactly what year that was. Atlanta, though, probably the scariest moment I've been a part of. Maybe, yeah. It just, I mean, the James Dean thing, I was there, but it wasn't a part of it per se. How was that? I know it's a super open question. I have no idea what point to start off on, and I'd rather you, I guess, kind of work through it.
Okay. Yeah, that was terrible.
Okay, cool.
Worse than 2012, probably for a number of reasons for us. So yeah, Odie was driving, right? And I think it was grade 8, and he had a massive explosion. So I have never seen I've watched this for so many years. I've seen fires. I've seen cars catch fire. They happen. It happens.
Yeah.
And I don't get freaked out. I have never seen an explosion like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible. Like, it was the scariest. And when you see the video, like, it's hard to watch for me, but like, it's insane. Like, the explosion. The first thing I yelled was, "Odie, get out of the car." And, you know, wonderfully, and I think probably God's protection, he heard it more than once in his mind and was able to steer that car because he lost power steering. So I didn't know, obviously, to not hear anything. I knew I wouldn't hear anything over the radio because he needs to focus, right? But the car was going straight towards a wall, which was also, he would have been pinned and it would not have been good. So we're so thankful he's okay. But it was so long of waiting for him to get out of the car that I have never felt that way. It was terrifying. And to know my kids are in the stands. Thankfully, we had a friend with us they had their sitter with them who we love a lot. She's great. And then we had some friends with us, and one friend who has some training in trauma. She actually like jumped in front of my kids, made sure they couldn't see like a ton because we didn't know what was going to happen. So I'm so thankful that she was there for my kids in that moment. But it was terrible to see him. And even like if you watch the live stream, like to hear Jared, like you could just hear like there was a fear. I think everyone was scared. So that wasn't James Dean's fire was scary in Long Beach, but I don't think it was the duration was as long or as
it wasn't as intense.
No, and probably because there was an
sudden
explosion. Like an explosion's different. You just don't know what happened. The fact that Odie was like completely protected is just by the grace of God. Like I can't say it any other way. Like because it didn't go past the firewall. He was completely fine. He's very nonchalant about it. I know.
He's so chill about the whole thing.
But I think being his wife and also being, seeing his children and having me explain to him how traumatic that was for me and for the kids. And the kids, it's obvious now, like they're more scared of things than they were before. We had a really rough year last year, just in a few different ways. And so now it's the reality of like, oh, this is dangerous. There are consequences beyond what we've seen before. So that was very scary. It was a lot. It was intense. Obviously very, very happy that everything's fine. I'm glad that he's able to be nonchalant about it. I'm sure there's still something in the back of his head that's there. I don't think a situation like that I don't think it's possible to 100% get over it because you'd have to lose the memory altogether. But yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Unfortunately, my wife's been through some serious medical things that were very scary. I just didn't have to witness that with a large group of people, Right.
So, but I'm sure in your mind it was tunnel vision of just, because you were yelling before the car even stopped.
Oh yeah.
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 Like it happened.
As soon as the explosion, Odie, get out of the car. And I've never yelled like that over the radio. Like I know my voice was, I think everyone around me was pretty like, oh crap. So, that was very intense.
Yeah. And in Atlanta with how the booth and the spotters are laid out. You know, Jared and I are kind of off to the left, and you're all over to the right, and you usually are there early, get very good vantage point, whether it is the highest seat or the closest to the front seat. But yeah, I just remember hearing you say it, and I was just like, it took a second to process what was going on. But the part that got me was I think it was the communication cable or something like that was still stuck. Like, you tried to get out, and then you see the cable, and then you see his head pull back. I'm like, whoa. And then, you know, nonchalantly just kind of turns and unhooks them and then keeps going. And I was like, okay, cool. We're good. Jesus. But yeah. It was a lot.
It was. And then I know, you know, at that point in competition, there's not a ton of spotters up there. So it's kind of an emptier booth at that point. Yeah. But I know my kids were walking back towards the pits, and, you know, someone saw them and was like, just come up and see me. So I know as soon as I saw my daughter, I'm just crying. You know, she's just crying in the booth. So it was a very, that was the roughest. We did not think that the season could get worse. It did for us personally, but it was, that was the hardest event I've ever been. I'm definitely more nervous now than I used to be.
Do you think that changes like your outlook for this year? I think we talked about it before. This will be coming out after Atlanta. I don't know how much of that you want to get into, but does any of that play a part in that decision?
I try to quit spotting every year.
Okay, got it.
That being said, I love it. Yeah. I enjoy it. It is my favorite time. It is my favorite time at the track, is being in the booth. I love that Odie and I get to be over the radio together. I love the relationship that we have. Sometimes our boys get to hear a lot. They're probably, because I'm pretty analytical and straightforward, but if, you know, we get mad at each other, we get short with each other, and other times it's kind. And so they get to kind of just hear this interesting bit into our marriage, I'm sure. So, but I do love being in the booth, but it's hard on our family. Having Odie and I both so involved you know, they are demanding weekends and demanding travel schedule, and we have to be there before set. It's just it's very demanding. So, plus running field suspension, which also becomes demanding. So there's there's a lot. So each year I've kind of joked, or I get, you know, stressed out in the off season and think, am I going to continue spotting? Is this really what I want to be doing? Is this what's right? And every year ends up that it's what's best. I am so honored that he likes having me be his spotter. It's really cool. But this year we agreed that it would probably be best if I step away from spotting in order to be with the kids. It was after Atlanta last year. It was like, they need to be with their mom. And then, I wasn't in Orlando. My mom passed away that weekend rather quickly and unexpectedly. Otherwise, Odie would have been with me. I'm sure of it. So, that was terrible. So then it was like, Amy needs to be with the kids, you know, and I need to be with the kids. And that has felt more and more right for our family, while at the same time not taking a step back from the administrative role of the team and going, well, I'm not just Odie's spotter. I am organizing logistics. I am organizing meals. I am going to Costco. I am doing these things. I'm assigning tickets in Torque Hub. I am doing, you know, all of the other administrative tasks that I do. I have spreadsheets. I can still do spreadsheets without being Odie's spotter. I can still do some data stuff. Trust me. So, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Spotting is one of them, but it is also the most time consuming. It means that I cannot do anything anytime cars are on track. Yeah. I cannot, you know, I'm booked every time cars are on track. So it will be nice to step away from being Odie's spotter and be able to enjoy. I'm still going to be involved. I'm still going to have a headset. I'm still going to be, chatting with Odie when I need to, when I want to. But it'll be nice to be his wife.
Yeah. it's gonna suck not having you up there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna miss the checkered pants. I'm gonna miss the witty commentary. I'm gonna miss the actually, guys, in the rule book, which is some of my favorite moments. There was something, I think, my first year in the booth where you and I both caught something that was in the rule book, and we're both like looking at each other to like point. I can't remember what it was. Something really silly. But it was like, I'm like, actually, guys, Amy is 100% right on this. Like, you have to listen to her. It's like, this is how it is. So, but I'm also, this is me just on a personal anecdote. Like, I also know that I'd still get to see you in the pits and get to pop by and, see the kids and, they can joke about the hat. And it's, just, I don't know. I've gotten to know the Bakchis family quite well. And it's, I think without you being there at all would be really weird. But I'm happy you're still doing something. And I still feel like you'll be spotting in some way. Like during competition, he'll come back in from top 32 and be like, okay, listen, I know this is what your new spotter has told you, but I need to tell you this part because they missed this or something. I don't think you can turn it off.
No, I won't turn it off. I don't want to turn it off. I'm still going to look at runs like a spotter, not like a fan. I can't. Yeah. I just don't know how. I've never been a drift fan. I don't know how to just watch it. Actually, that's not true. There are some runs that I watch and I'm not joking. I'm like, I think I might like that. Like that looks good. Like some are from Odie, some are from some other drivers. Sometimes it's watching something else, like not even, just like I'll see something and
there's beautiful moments in this sport. There's some very beautiful moments in this sport. And I try, and all of us, there are times in practice, this is for everybody else, because Amy already knows this, where there'll be a run and everyone just looks and like, what the hell was that? And it's just like, what are we going to do this weekend? Like, there's your winner right there. Yep. Like you just know. You just know.
It is also possible to win practice. Like everyone knows that too. Like 100%.
Yeah. 100%.
You can go win practice. Yeah. And practice is fun. That stuff is fun. I do enjoy it. I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be sad not to be, with you guys, with FD staff. I like the FD staff. I just thoroughly enjoy being up there.
It's silly. Cool. Like, it's just a bunch of kids up there. That's the best part. I sometimes compare Formula Drift to this is never ending high school. This is 100%.
Oh my gosh.
I don't want to assign tropes, but they're there. The high school tropes are there for sure. I definitely fall under the nerdy weird kid in high school, which I'm okay with. I've assigned myself that role. That's who I was in high school. I was like the dude with the giant mohawk who was also really good at physics. So same guy.
That's awesome. I would talk to you. I'd hang out.
I'm
nerdy.
The weird goat. Yeah.
I'm and I know it because I'll go to the banquet or the, prospect banquet or something. And I'm talking with staff members. That's who I like to, I'm and I talk to my teachers and I've always sat in the front row and that's just who I am. In school, in elementary school, I'm first to raise my hand. It doesn't change. Yeah. I'm in driver's meeting. I sit in the front row, raise my hand.
You're in school senate.
100%. Can't help it.
Yeah.
Just who I am.
Yeah, that's fine though. But it allowed you to become who you are though, which is the coolest part of it. I mean, spotter of the year, somebody, a lot of other spotters, a lot of other drivers look up to, a lot of the staff members look up to. This isn't me just bragging about you, because I consider you a friend, but just letting you know that you are highly regarded in the eyes of a lot of people at that event. So
thank you.
I want to make sure you know that you're very important to the sport in a lot of ways.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I hope to continue being a part of it for quite a while and contributing, hopefully, and being a voice that is useful and bears fruit in the sport rather than anything negative.
Yeah. I don't think any of it's negative. I think any of the feedback that you've given, I know there's a lot of stuff people don't see. There's very long email chains back and forth. A lot of, hey, and what's kind of neat too is your approach to a lot of it follows very much what your, I guess, educational and mental system is, which is I understand this is the letter of this rule, but what is the spirit of this rule in all actuality? Like, this is how it's written, and if we're going to abide by how it's written, this is what it means. But I also understand that this is the spirit of it and why this was developed. So, which is not something a lot of people are able to do. It's usually one or the other. It's, no, this is how it's written, this is how we do it. And other people are like, well, it's written this way because we don't want you doing that. And I think that's what makes you very good at what you do, and also very frustrating to deal with when somebody is wrong, because you can argue both sides very well.
Thank you for that. Yeah, sometimes I'll read the rule book and find like a typo or something. I'm like, oh, they should have just sent it to me. I would have just read it and told them. Like, why don't they do that?
They could.
Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe one day they will. Yeah.
Maybe now that you're not officially spotting, they can.
Maybe.
Just be like, hey, just can you run through this real quick?
Oh, it'll piss someone off, I'm sure.
Oh, don't worry about those people. Listen, if you're pissing somebody off, it's because you're doing something right.
There you go.
That's how I see it. Yeah. If everybody's happy with you, it means you're being fake. That's how I see it. But where do you see this sport going in the next couple of years? I've asked drivers this. I've asked staff members this. Let's say 5 years from now, what do you think will be different, and what do you think will be the same?
I haven't really thought about that. I know probably what I would hope for it. I'm not sure that what I would hope is what we're going to see.
We can go with that. That's fine.
I'm not sure. I would hope to continue to see growth in driving. But right now, I would hope that we also see areas where there might not be equal opportunity for the entire field. I want to see drivers have opportunities to be competitive, like we are now, but across the whole field. I'm not sure that the current system, with the way having all tandem is amazing, but the way the seating bracket and competition, like main competition, are playing out, I'm just not seeing how that is. Not everyone's getting the same amount of seat time pre-competition.
Okay.
Pre-main competition. So I'd want to see where everyone's able to develop at the same rate. Like, those who are lower ranked would have the same opportunity to develop as those who are higher ranked, and those who are higher ranked would still have the same track time as those who are lower ranked. So right now it's not really like that, but we go to play as well, right? Like, we're there to play, there to drive and get as much seat time as we can. I want to see the cars continue to be built in a way to where they're reliable. And I don't know what needs to happen for continued. Right now things are working out, but if things keep going at the trajectory they are, it's just going to be a little bit nuts. So I'm not sure. It's kind of not a good answer to your question.
No, that's fine.
I hope to see continued growth to where people understand, but also to where people understand that it is different than a video game. It is real life. It is cool to see. I think sometimes that there's almost a disconnect. Like, people don't understand that it is so unique. It is different than what they're seeing or playing on their video games. Like, it might feel neat and cool. I don't know. I don't play video games, but it seems like sometimes there's just like the whole mentality that they're just watching something that is like a cartoon, rather than like real human beings with real talent that have really built these machines to do incredible things. It's not pretend.
I think it's because it seems so surreal. It's very hard to wrap your head around. I mean, both as a sport, as a motorsport in particular, but as any sport, like anything at that high of a level is very difficult to comprehend. Like, when F1's always is an easy example for me. When you look at how fast they're going, to like, it is so insanely fast. And then you think about the amount of G-force they're going through over and over and over again in a lap. And it's like, there are a lot of people who will never experience that level of G-force once in their entire life. And yet these drivers are doing it, 20 times in a lap, and they're doing 70 laps. Like, and then you bring this, in drifting's regard, we're asking them to have a margin of error of this much, right? Touch the wall, but don't hit it. Don't let it affect you, but we want you touching it. And they're doing it at 60 plus miles an hour, and they're doing it sideways in vehicles that don't want to be going sideways. And you have to do it after only trying it a few times. Oh, and every variable is changing all the time. Weather, track conditions, but you still need to be perfect. And they do it. And that's the crazy part.
Right. That, I think, I know we talk about like fan understanding and, communicating what goes on. I don't know if that component can be communicated, right? Because you're right, it is so surreal. So it would be neat to see how do we allow people to learn just how incredible it is. The car builds maybe more of what is going on while they're drifting. I don't know.
It's tough. It's something I struggle with a lot with what I do is how do I convey this in a way that educates the fans for both the diehards and the newbies, gives justice to what the drivers do, but also am critical in a way that is just and fair without sounding too negative. All of that to balance in a couple of sentences in a run.
Right. So. And to call out nuances that are really maybe hard to see. And
But to us, it's glaring, right? To you and I, it's like,
do you see that rear wheel lockup?
Exactly, right?
You're like, that was wild. Like when, that one little blip, but I saw
just that one handbrake pull you did.
Yeah, obvious. But that's hard to see. Or sometimes I know people might get a little bent out of shape about why someone wins or loses because they're not privy to, even if they heard the driver's meeting, it still might not make sense because it's constantly building on itself. So it's almost like the driver's meeting might have some information that is, yes, helpful to us. But even if, let's say, fans were able to listen in, and it's a good thing they probably don't, but we've built on so much of what's expected on track that might still not even communicate the exact expectation because there's probably a lot of it is written in the rule book, but a lot of it is probably unspoken that, I don't think there's a ton of unspoken, but just like a little nuances where we all know, well, this A is better than B because, it's almost hard to put a finger on. We try to put words on it, right? Like fluidity or words like,
aggression,
impact, things like this. And that, but you and I know what we're talking about, but at the same time, it's a very vague word, right?
Yeah.
And if I drew a picture of it, you can't.
No.
Make a movie. I can't.
You can't weigh it. You can't measure it, but it's there. Right.
Yeah. So I would hope to see some clarification, but not necessarily in the way of writing more rules or coming up with more vocabulary, but how do we experientially allow fans to interact with some of these concepts?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I wish I did. There's certain things. Have you ever seen how the Irish system is judged with their points, their tally point system?
No.
Really interesting. Like, essentially, they build a grid for every zone, and entering into the zone late is a deduction of points, and being off the wall is a deduction of points. So if you look at a zone literally as a grid, perfect is, if we're getting into spreadsheets, is kind of A1, let's say A to D1, that row. If your tire is in that is perfect.
Oh.
But if you don't enter in, if you leave before A, if you leave at B, that's a deduction in point. Or if you're at, let's say, B3, that's, in that case, that's like 3 or 4 deductions of points because now you're both 1 in and 3 out.
I like this. I like spreadsheets though. I'm like, ooh, put that on a grid.
I think it's a way that I can communicate what it is by using reference points. If you ever have a chance to chat with Kieran Hines, I think you guys would, who's kind of the godfather of drifting in Ireland. You guys would nerd out like crazy because that's his system he's developed.
How fun.
Yeah. But to me though, it also removes some of the element of drifting. Like once we go so far into the analytics, there are things that remove. That's part of my argument against like the different like DOS system or what they're using over in Europe or what's kind of being developed in FD right now is like, that's great. But does it know what aggression is? Does it know what impact is? Does it like, how do you quantify that?
So in this grid system, is there not another component of judging that brings in that?
There is, but it's only used when all the data is pretty much is all the same, right? Iron Drift King tried to do something similar, but it was purely a points-based system, which was interesting. Like, and they had 7 judges, and it was all points-based, all deduction-based. So everybody starts with 100. You lose points as you go. And even still, I believe there was 3 won more times.
Oh, wow.
Right? So we're talking about, we're adding so many variables at that point, right? And there was still 3 won more times.
Well, and you have to have, I guess, let's say someone's deductions were in zone 1 and someone else's deductions were in zone 3, which region has more say or weight? More cells. Right? And
zones are different sizes.
But then it would just be like, well, that's just a longer zone. Whereas maybe another one is more, back to our words, more dynamic, right? Of like, well, it takes an intense transition to maintain, like this should have more weight because it's requiring more from the driver to get there. Which
realistically is kind of what we already do. A great example is Long Beach, and that what isn't an inside clip in the rumble strips at initiation, that held so much weight in Long Beach, and everybody was informed, everybody was told, do not put your front tires on those rumble strips. And still people were questioning, like, I had this great run. No, you had a run that was very similar to the other drivers. The difference is they did not do this thing and you did do this thing that we told you not to. That was the difference. And I think it was very difficult for a lot of people to grasp. And I know I reiterated it a bunch, and so did the judges, but
yeah, that goes back to spotters. Like that goes back to, well, I still thought that looked like a good run. Well, it might have, but that's neither here nor there. And you have to think, if all that driver has heard all weekend is that they've been doing great runs, they're going to be mad when they lose and they don't understand why. And it was someone's job to tell them. Like,
I do think being too nice to your driver is the biggest disservice you can do.
You know what that does for a marriage? I'll tell you something.
I mean, please go for it.
No.
I want to hear. No.
No, there has to be a good balance, but you're right. I think that people are too nice. And I think for sometimes a decent reason that they just like, they are drift fans. So they see like, it is a good run. Like sometimes I have to, right? Like it is good. You're pro. These are good runs, but we have to get nitpicky here. Right.
Yeah.
So how do we balance like reminding them that yes, this was a great run. Yes, you're fine. At the broad scheme of things, you're going to be okay. But if there's something that's going to be a point of differentiation, we need to work this out or need to work this in. So there has to be discussion. And back when there was qualifying, I used to say like, there's always room for improvement unless you got 100 points on both qualifying runs and you won the event with every single battle unanimously going your way.
Which I don't think has ever happened.
Of course not.
Could one day.
But
If we ever bring back
some of
qualifying, but yeah.
But okay, so now a perfect event would be ignoring seeding because I don't want to talk about it. But if you go to main competition, you would have to win everything unanimously, right? Every single run. Like, cause if one judge in one of your runs didn't go your way or said one more time, there was something they thought you could have changed.
Yeah. Yeah. We've never had perfection, and I really hope we never do.
But then again, I don't think anyone knows what that even looked like.
No. There's a few runs we can always kind of go back to, but I've also gone back to runs that I guess like idolize and rewatch them and go, it wasn't as great as I remember. Like,
in the moment though, it was so
this was
awesome.
pretty cool. And then I watched it again. I was like, ooh, there was a lot of big errors in there. So
there's also the opposite sometimes. I'm pretty honest with Odie, which is probably why he knows what to expect of me. Like he said, I'm matter of fact, so I'll just say it how it is. So after a battle, I will tell him kind of what I think, right? Like when they're waiting for a result. I'll say like, oh, they're looking at a side by side, or maybe it was this, but I'm pretty honest about like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. You did great, but he did pretty darn good. Like I kind of, if I think it's going to go the other way and I can tell, at the end of the day, I know I said the right thing and then it goes to someone else. I'm glad that I said it, because we'll get a lot of other people who will be like, oh, you should have had that. Oh, you should have. And I'm like, but he knows at the end of the day, I saw it too, and so if the spotter sees it too, then there's just another layer of confirmation that maybe that was the right call. Cause obviously like losses are hard. So every loss is hard.
yeah.
But it's better to say it's coming than to say you should have had that. There's
don't
times when
want
I
the
say you
false
should have
hope.
had that, because sometimes I disagree. Not too often, but sometimes I do. So
Sometimes. Yeah, no, you're pretty good. I've even seen times where you're shaking hands before the judge's decision even comes in, and you're like, that one was yours. Like, there it is immediately. But yeah, there's no point in providing that false joy or that false hope.
yeah,
Right. It does nobody any favors. You're just bringing somebody up even further. So that fall is that much harder when they hit the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah.
And on the opposite end, I can be, if I do disagree, then I get to be on board of like, I don't know. So he gets my, buffering him up for, this is okay to be upset about right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You're allowed to be mad at this one.
You're allowed to be. Yeah, it's all right.
Do you think all the road trips and travel and confined communication helps with the longevity of your marriage? Like, is there something to be said about being stuck in the cabin of a vehicle for days on end sometimes that lets you or forces you to hash out things?
I think it definitely helps our communication, and having good communication helps our marriage. I think there's a lot that go into why we choose to have unity in our marriage. And I think that, like I mentioned before, after the point of kind of like where we're both going different ways, like once we decided to say like, this is obviously better for us to be a unified front and to work together. There's times where it's very difficult with work, but it gets easier and easier as time goes on, as we know each other better and have the same end goals in mind, right? Like we're working towards the same things. We're working towards the same success on track. We're working towards the same life in our home. We're working towards, right, like the health and success of our children and making sure they're well-rounded and know that they're loved. So if we're working towards these things together, being on track, neither of us are setting those things aside. So when we are on the radio, we're still working towards the same things. We're not opposing each other, yet we're there to hold each other also accountable to those things that we've agreed to move towards. towards. And so I think that leaves us healthier at the end of the day.
Yeah, you both have extreme accountability to each other in very different scenarios in different regards, and having to be critical of your partner, of your husband in your case, like, is not easy. But I do think allowing the space for that to happen helps with that in a lot of other ways. I couldn't imagine my wife being my spotter. I couldn't imagine being my wife's spotter. Like, I don't know. But then I think there's lots of times where that happens day to day, where she'll be frustrated about something. And I'm like, you have every right to be, like, for sure. And then there are times where I'm like, okay, I understand you're mad, but once you're over those feelings, let's have a conversation about it. 'Cause this is how I saw this scenario actually unfold. And you're just really close to it.
So now, as a spotter, you're doing that same thing just as a measure of driving, right? Like, so you're there to say, like we still got the same goal on track. We still are trying to work towards the same thing. I want what's best for him, and he wants to drive in the best way possible, right? So this is good. At the first few years, I was probably way too critical. And it took a little bit of time and some changes for me to realize that's just not the best. That's not the best way either. Like, I have to remind him that he's fine. He'll be in practice and we'll be working on something, and I'll say, just to remind you, like, you're still probably like one of the top 5 out here. So,
100%.
So, like, in a given practice session, be like, this is just a point of differentiation we're working on. Like, don't get, like, bent out of shape right now, So it's good for us to be able to do that.
In a rare occasion where you are, I mean, it'll be different now, not having your alone book time, but in a rare occasion where you have no kids, no work call, no husband, nothing on the go, what's the go-to relaxation? What's the unwind time? Is it just watching The Life Aquatic over and over again?
Oh, I do love The Life Aquatic.
Great movie, by the way.
No, like I mentioned before, I'm in my master's program for fun. So I sit down
it sounds amazing, just for fun. Just
to go have silence and solitude. Yeah. To, honestly, if I'm going to go be by myself, I'm going to go to my sitting room, which I do have. Go to my sitting room. My Bible is there. That is where I'm going to be. I love it. Like, I can't get enough of it. So that is where I am, or in some book. Honestly, after I graduate, though, I was thinking, I wonder if I'll read, like, other books again. Because right now, all my reading is stuff I have to read. Also, like, I'm reading St. John of the Cross and St. Teresa of Avila. And I'm reading all of these, like, people from the medieval and Renaissance times. I'm reading Puritan readings, and I'm reading all sorts of stuff.
Oh, cool.
So I'm like, what will I be reading? The other day I saw a reference to Lord of the Rings, and I was like, I wonder if I should read those again. Like, it's been many, many years. So who knows? But reading.
It's getting crazy.
It's getting crazy. So yeah, I have appreciated silence and solitude more and more in my life, as well as coffee with, close friends who hold me accountable as well, so that is truly what I go to. I'm not, I can't make that up. I think Odie knows, like, if he's traveling and we talk late at night, it's because I'm reading something in bed that is likely for school or just for my own edification. So,
do you think you'll study something after this, or do you think it'll let it sit, or do you already have the next thing lined up?
I do not have the next thing lined up. I don't know what is next. Sitting with this for at least a minute or two for quite some time, until I think if I'm drawn to something else, I'll hopefully know it and have a good discerning process to figure that out. I am glad to be involved in motorsports at this level. It's not obviously anything I would have anticipated, judging from my biology and now spiritual formation. Like, this isn't what I chose, I feel like, for myself. But I know that I'm in it for a reason and I love it. And I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this level of formula drift in order to have long email chains, that I have the comfort and have the relationships that have been going on for 15 years with people that I respect in an industry that is unique and impressive and wonderful, and that Odie and I get to be a part of it. And then to watch Odie and see what he does, like, I'm curious what we will continue, as we continue to do this, what that looks like and what my role will look like in it. I'm not sure.
When do you think you will go back and buy another Evo? Do you think it's like the kids are in high school? Is there any yearning to get back into another fun car?
I like my car now.
What are you driving now?
Explorer ST. I'm like, I wanted a third row. We have 2 kids, but I was like, I don't know. I sometimes have people in the car. I want a third row. Yeah. And it has like 400 horsepower. So I'm like happy with that, like on the road. Sometimes I'm like, oh, if I want to like put my foot in it, I can. So I still feel like there's a little bit of a cool factor there, but I don't know. Sometimes I did probably like a year ago. I was like, Odie, I think as a commuter car, I think you should get me like a 240 SX. Cause I was thinking of, here's why. Cause I was like, you know what? I kind of wanted like a Supra or something. And then I realized, well, my husband is like really good at building 240s and I should probably embrace that and be like, yeah, own that, like, a little bit. And so like, yes, I should be this is a car I should be driving is like a 240 SX. Like, I wouldn't mind that. Like, because
there's lots of parts.
This is a confession.
No,
I hate pop-up headlights so bad, so bad. And it's just a thing.
Okay.
And
that's fair.
Yeah, because they're, and they never like come up at the same time. It's a whole thing. And
they're never symmetrical.
I have found myself sometimes. I've found myself like driving and I'll be like, oh, and I'll look at a car and be like, oh, I caught myself looking at something like a 240. I'm like, why? And so anyway, I'm like, oh, cause maybe deep down I kind of like it. So maybe I should have a 240. I don't know. I mean,
you're outside of the Eagle. Your relationship was kind of built on 240s. The first one I believe was bought on Valentine's Day, and Odie got a 240, and you got Crab Shack. So it's not a bad deal.
Our relationship being built on it is a lie, a complete lie, because we were already married. Let me tell you something. I told you I did not marry a race car driver.
That's fair. Okay.
He did not know drifting before we got married. There was a ring on my finger already. I'm in it. Then what do I gonna do?
Yeah, no, you're stuck with it then. I think
he probably didn't even know, like, at the time, like, that it was Valentine's Day. Like, we probably had to work out, like, this is just so you know, Valentine's Day.
I got it.
We have the 240 now. The S13, though, that is the one car that I'm like, we will never get rid of that car. The one we bought on Valentine's Day.
Where is it now? Like, is it
right
built?
Behind
is it
me.
a built car? Okay.
It's his demo car. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's crinkly, but
it's crinkly.
But I love it a lot.
What were your feelings about previous cars? Like, did you like the Genesis? Like, was there anyone that you were like, why did we get rid of that?
The Genesis wasn't ours. So that one was not technically ours, but it was a cool car. It was ARC Performances.
Right.
But it was really neat to get into something unique. No, I don't know. So Odie has bought and sold numerous cars, right? Like, it's countless. I counted years and years ago and it was a lot. So I don't know how many he's gone through. Probably close to 100 cars. Like this. So he's, I don't know. I'm not attached to any of them anymore. they come and go. The Prius was very useful.
Nice.
It did its job well.
I forgot about the Prius.
He loves it. You could ask him about it.
Yeah,
Because you know what you're signing up for and it does its job well.
yeah.
Like I don't want like a car that's pretending to be a muscle car if it's not, right? Like if you want a muscle car, you want a real one, right? So you don't want to buy a like gas efficient car and then it's not really. But with a Prius, you know what you're signing up for. It does its job well. It's not pretending to be anything other than it is. I like it.
No, it's true. And I think it comes with experience over time where like even I bought, for some reason I have an attachment to Mazda Proteges. I love the cars. I've owned a lot of them. Great car. I've been building, I sold my favorite one when we had kids. Just, it didn't make sense to have that car, put car seats in it. Just didn't make sense. So I bought another one. I bought several other ones now that my kids are getting a bit older. And I'm like, it's kind of loud. It's really low, like trying to get out of it. My knees hurt. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is going on right now? And same thing. I'm like, I should really just get like a really cheap commuter car that doesn't scrape and I don't have to worry about how far I turn it. I don't know. So I don't know if I'll do Prius, but
you know, think about this too. Like when you're in a rental car, like what do you like? Like, you know what I like when we're in like for years and years, man, if you get a good minivan that it feels like a living room inside, you know, cause we have a team. So you rent a van to get back and forth. And every time we're in it, it's like, psh, look at all this stuff.
A fully loaded minivan. There's nothing like it. Yeah. A good town and country.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I get this excited, like when I roll up to the rental car area and I'm like, this is going to be a pleasure all weekend to drive. Like there's either something wrong with me, but I'm also jaded because I do get to watch, right? Like 1,000 horsepower cars on track all weekend. So of course it's nice to then go get in my like comfy couch on wheels and go back to the Airbnb.
Great AC and like heated seat. It's when you're in the AC and the heated seats at the same time. And you're like, what has my life come to? This is what I consider the best part of my weekend.
There you are.
It's got remote start. I get fire it up. It's cold when I get in. Hit the auto doors. You know, little kick sensor to get the gate to come up. Yeah. We have a van now, but it's by no means fully loaded. Like it is a base model Grand Caravan. So
nice.
I don't even call it Grand Caravan. It's just a caravan. But it is. It's practical. I can fit a full sheet of drywall in the back. It's wild.
Yeah.
Fold all the seats down.
For practicality. But like I said, if I didn't have like this stable behind me of like, you know, having a handful of race cars, like then I'd probably have a different opinion. So
have you driven, like have you gone out drifting at all? Any interest in it whatsoever?
Like several years ago, Odie had an RX-8 with a V8 in it.
Okay.
For fun. It was yellow. And so he took me to Willow Springs and I did donuts and figure eights and that was fun. But then like I liked it. I really did. I was like, oh, I should probably do this more. This is cool.
You said it was so much vigor. I had to believe you. Just like, well, then it was fun. I did the math. It rated at least a 7 out of 10 in fun. So.
It was fun. I did like it.
Okay,
I would have kept doing it. But then not long after that got pregnant with our son. So then it was like, well, drifting is off the table and then life. So no, and all of Odie's cars I'm not able to drive them because I am short and he has race seats stuck in things. Every now and then he's like, I should put rails and put like a slidey seat in one of these. Yeah. Nah. Hasn't happened, but my daughter has a Mazda Miata. Yeah. And so I tried to do, I did donuts in that like a few months ago. And so that was fun. But
I guess you would have had some agreement to it in some way, but the kids getting into motorsports now, how's that sitting with you?
I'm happy for them to be in a car. I will say that.
Not on a bike.
Never.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. That has been something I've been pretty passionate about since, well before we were married. So just seeing accidents on bikes that are very scary. And I wouldn't want that for small children, for me.
Of the same mind, my son very, very much wanted a dirt bike. And then I found a dune buggy and I was like, I will get you this. I have no problem with this. But I've been in one really good bike accident where it was like broken wrist, lost all the skin on my arm, like good one. And then one not as bad. But after that, I'm like, they're fun. I love them. They're great. That's the issue though, is that they are so much fun that you get comfortable on them very quick. And then you don't realize how much danger you're putting yourself in. And there's nothing stopping you. So,
right.
And if my son's anything like I am, I go from cautious to confident in like a split second where I'm like, okay, maybe I'll feel this thing out. And the next thing, the front end's in the air and I'm just ripping. That's why I don't let people like, oh, borrow my car. Like you can go drifting in my car. The last person who did that, I put their Z into the wall. And that was like a month ago. Yep.
That was a month ago.
Yeah. I went from like, okay, let me feel this out. Let's feel the track out to immediately like trying to whip the car at the wall. It understeered and I just plowed right into it.
No.
I'm like, this is why I don't borrow people's cars.
I do think, so like my daughter has the Mazda Miata. I think it's great. She's learning how to drive stick, and just learning how to drive and do these things is great. She's cautious, very cautious. My son is overly confident about everything and a wild one. So I do think that's where something like the sim comes into play, where it's like the sim is going to teach Audrina how to be more assertive on track, whereas it will teach hopefully my son to be more cautious on track before they are out in the real world. Hopefully.
I like that. Like, two very different problems and different solutions to bring them back to the same point.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
I like it. Cool. Well, I think I got most of it. I have a weird, actually, I got two weird ones that I tried to fit in the episode and just couldn't, but I've started doing this with these where I like go through the kind of whatever we didn't get to in the notes. Can you explain to me, how do I phrase this? Is it true that your grandfather was both a rocket scientist and possibly related to the founder of Hershey's chocolate? Or are those two different grandparents?
Same grandpa. Yeah.
That dude's awesome.
Yeah. He was awesome. He was awesome.
Yeah, that's
true.
That's a super cool guy.
He would actually, like, just a tidbit, like he would go to Venice Beach in California and like build pyramids to scale and every Saturday for like years and years.
Like out of sand?
Out of sand on Venice Beach, like with rulers. I have like a couple newspaper clippings that I recently found. And anyway, yes, he's eccentric.
I don't know how much you got into the history and the geometry around the pyramids, but it is, I mean, one, to do it at scale, yes, you would need rulers because the alignment of the pyramids is we could do a whole episode on that because it's wild. But cool. And then last one, I need you to see if you recognize and if you can place this quote. And then I think we can wrap up on that. Love God and love others, then all else will follow.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I still agree with that.
Do you know where I would have pulled that quote from though?
My high school yearbook.
Yes. Graduating year, 2002.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have to say the year. Thank you.
I'll bleep it out.
I'm not ashamed of it. It's all right. I'm 40.
It's all good.
Yeah. What's wild is that I still agree with that. And
good quote.
Yeah.
I kind of butchered it, but yeah. Love God and love others, then all else will follow. That's great.
Yeah. Thanks for digging that up.
No worries. If you want to copy your yearbook, I can send it to you.
What?
Well, I mean, I don't physically have it, but you can just order it. But yeah.
Oh.
There's a database of yearbooks.
You're good at your job.
Thank you. I will say the hardest part of all the research was actually finding your maiden name.
Oh, really?
That took me longer than anything else. Yeah, it's not.
It's interesting because you found Cal State Fullerton and that's my maiden name. You must have found my maiden name first.
Well, I looked for your maiden name as like one of the first parts of research because anything Amy Bakchis is like fairly easy to find. I just Google that. And that's like, don't get me wrong, that's cool. There's a lot of great info there, but like the fun stuff and like the weird nerdy stuff comes before that. And that's the stuff I like to dig into. But yeah, it took a little digging. Your social media is pretty locked down.
Heck yeah, no. I'm so happy. Like my life is so good.
Yeah, nice. You're good.
To say no to social media.
It's no point. You know what? I will say I went drifting today. Took my son. It was actually the first time I've ever given my son a ride along. So it was like a really cool experience. And I took one photo all day. And that was it.
That's
and
great.
It was just him and I out running the track. I parked the truck and trailer way at the back so we could just spend the day hanging out. And it was awesome. And just didn't take photos, wasn't on my phone. I left my phone in the truck pretty much the whole day. So it was
Isn't
great.
that amazing? Good for you.
Thank you. It's not easy to do these days. No. I don't know. I'm going to be on the road for a month straight. Basically, I'm home for I think 6 days in the next month, and we have a bunch of stuff planned with the kids tomorrow. We're taking them to a water park, like whole day at a Disney water park, and then my wife spent today with my daughters. I spent the day with my son, and I was just like, no, like you and I. Thankfully, didn't have to wrench on the car. Let's just go drive for the whole day, and it was good. So
Very
I respect the lockdown on social media. I don't know if I could do the 48 hours of silence. I could try. Don't think it would work for me. I'm far too much of a talker. But I think it'd be fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I suggest it. You know, like you start thinking like, oh, why do I just revert? Why do I avoid silence? I guess is the question.
Oh, because I'm super uncomfortable in it.
Yeah. That's the part where you go, what about this is uncomfortable? What do I not? Anyway, that's the kind of stuff I do. So
fair. Well, thank you so much for carving out some time to do this. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad you and I chat a fair bit, but never like this, which is, I think it was needed, and I'm happy we got to do it.
Me too. It's a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks for having me and chatting with me.
No worries. For everybody listening and watching, normally I'd say go follow Amy on socials, but good luck.
Go follow Odie. You can check Odie out. He's pretty cool.
He posts pictures of Amy and behind the scenes stuff anyways. I'm really looking forward to saying hi again soon. I hope you enjoy a bit more downtime at the events, and hopefully you don't go stir crazy. I don't think you will. There's too much to do, but it'll be a fun and different change for you.
Thank you.
So, all right, cool. Well, thanks again, everybody, and we'll catch everyone next week.